Save Martha! Why did you say that name? Welcome to 5 Points of Articulation, where I review action figures and then articulate 5 points to help you decide if you want to add that figure to your collection. The 5 points I discuss are packaging, presentation, posability, playability, and price. I'm Jason, and if you enjoy my content, please like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube rigmarole. In this corner, the original comic book style Namor from the Marvel Legends Okoye wave. And in this corner, the all-new live-action Namor from Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Starting off with the packaging, and the comic version comes in a nice open window box which represents everything that's good and right and true. And then there's this one. But of course, maybe I'm being a bit too harsh. Nah, I know what's in there and I know what it looks like. Putting them side by side, and I'm noticing that the new ones are also a little bit smaller. Not a big deal, just an observation. Character art on one side. I don't know if it was made for the toy or came from a comic, but it does look really nice. And this key art from the movie's good. I also do really like all the detail in the trim. On the other side, we see the comic art on the original and the Build-A-Figure on the new one. The Build-A-Figure in this case is a tumor.
It's not a tumor. It's not a tumor.
That joke never gets old. The original Build-A-Figure wave was Okoye. Since Okoye is a Wakandan general and Atuma is a Talokan general, that does actually make sense. And here are all the figures you needed to build her. Otherwise, all we have are a couple of pictures of Namor. Also, if you care about your boxes, never order from Amazon. Admittedly, the art and design on the new one is nice, but it will never compete with this. For packaging, this round goes to comic. Moving on to presentation, the comic version stands at a sizable 6.5 inches. The movie version is slightly smaller, standing at just over 6 1/4. While the comic version does have new parts, there is also a fair bit of reuse, specifically from the Marvel Legends Capwolf. Upon close inspection, you'll notice that the upper arms are the same, as are the hands, and also the upper legs. The torso is new. He also has new forearms, and calves to accommodate his feathery ankles. And by new, I meant that they were made for the Walgreens exclusive version. We can see those bracers here, and the ankles here. One thing I am impressed by is that the head is new, and honestly would have been very easy for Hasbro to reuse that. He's got the classic swoopy hair, pointed ears, and archy eyebrows. Naturally, the movie version is a 100% new sculpt. Much like the actor himself, he has a narrower frame. Absolutely phenomenal level of sculpted and painted detailing in this neck piece. If you're wondering, it's loose, so you could remove it. The armbands are also floating pieces that can kind of slide down, unfortunately, but this does draw attention to the pinless joints. One thing that's unfortunate is that if you pull back the diaphragm joint, you can see they did not continue the sculpt underneath. Luckily, that's not the case with this one. Just like the comic version, he does have those gold gauntlets, just with a bit more detail, and also his gold belt and green swimsuit. Again, the comic version is a scaly Speedo, and these are shorts with panel lines, but I still think it's unmistakably Namor. The shorts also provide a very natural place to hide a thigh cut, and then all the way down we have his sandals and feathery wings. When I heard they were putting Namor in the movie, I honestly thought that the wings were going to be ornamental. I'm absolutely astonished that they committed to them being actual parts of his body. These ones, of course, are just glued on. I don't want to tug too tight, of course, because I'd hate to rip one off. Zooming in on the feet, we could see some nice painted details for the jewel and the strap. I'm honestly really impressed with the job that they have done. The showstopper, of course, is this incredible likeness. The resemblance to actor Tenoch Huerta is uncanny. I'm really amazed at just how far the face printing technology has come. And just like the feathery wings, I was really amazed that Marvel committed to the pointed ears. Black Adam, I'm looking at you. The Okoye wave version does look like Namor swam straight out of a classic comic book, but it cannot compete with the sculpted detail, painted detail, and pinless joints of the movie version. For presentation, this round goes to movie. Moving on to posability, and while there are a lot of similarities, there are also some very noteworthy differences. From the top, and both figures' heads are on ball joints and disc hinges. They can look up this far, which is really good for both flying and swimming poses, and they can look down this far, clearly in judgment of the surface world. Both figures have swivel hinge shoulders that raise 90 degrees, they both have bicep swivel, and they both have double jointed elbows. Traveling down the arms, they also both have swivel hinge wrists. The main difference between the two are the torsos. The comic version has an ab crunch and a waist swivel, the movie version just has a diaphragm joint. They can arch back this far, the comic version clearly more so, and they can hunch forward this far, again the comic book clearly more so. The comic one can twist side to side, but but the movie version does get tilt. And of course, he also looks a lot more natural when using his articulation than this. Below the waist, and both figures have ball-jointed hips. The comic version can kick this far and split this far. The movie version can kick almost a perfect 90 degrees and split this far. Both figures have thigh cut. Again, the movie a little bit better integrated. Both have double-jointed knees, and although both of them have Marvel Legends ankles that can hinge and pivot, the comic version also has boot cut. The movie version is pretty well articulated and does a nice job of hiding some of the joints, and while I can agree that the extra joints of the comic version don't look as nice, I can't argue with the results. For posability, this round goes to comic. Moving on to playability, and in terms of accessories, these two are surprisingly comparable. Both figures come with a pair of swimmy hands. They also come with a pair of holdy hands. And by holdy hand, I mean he actually just comes with one holdy hand and a fist. For the movie figure, that's to hold this spear. Nice sculpt to detail throughout, and some very nice paintwork at the tip. The comic version has this trident, and what it lacks in paint to detail, it more than makes up for with a very dynamic sculpt. Here's the comic version's trident in scale with him, and here's the movie version with his. Additionally, each figure comes with the arm or arms of a general, in this case either a Okoye or a Tuma. What? Were you waiting for something? That said, the comic version comes with an additional bearded head showing that this Spock is from the Mirrorverse. Dun 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 dun. Of course, if you have the Walgreens exclusive, you could always use that trident. And while we're on the subject, you could also use that head. Color-wise, it actually matches up really well. The other way around looks pretty good too. Just be warned, it's a little bit loose. And although I don't know how accurate it is to the comic, I really like the bearded version on this body. In combination with the suit, just looks a bit more regal. And even though it doesn't work at all, I know some of you were curious, so here's the movie head on the comic book body. Not only do the skin tones and proportions not match, but if you click the head all the way down, he completely loses his neck. But playability is more than just head swaps and Star Trek references. It's also about how well your figure plays with others. For the only other Namor in my collection, and here's the Walgreens exclusive, side by side, and it really highlights just how wonky his proportions are. For my only Black Panther, and here's the all-new comic book version we've already looked at. And then for some comic-style Avengers comparisons, here's the Cap Wolf figure that Namor shares so many parts with. And here we have the 20th anniversary version. They still share upper legs. Here we have Thor, the God of Thunder, the Incredible Hulk, and Iron Man. This, of course, is the 80 years version. This segues perfectly to the rest of the Illuminati. Here we have Doctor Strange, fellow mutant and pointy eyebrow enthusiast Charles Xavier, Black Bolt, leader of the Inhumans, and Mr. Fantastic. Mr. Fantastic brings us to Sue Storm, who Namor is madly in love with. Imperious wrecks your marriage. And as long as we're talking about the Fantastic Four, we may as well bring up Doctor Doom. For some MCU comparisons, and here we have Steve, here we have Sam, Iron Man Mark III, Doctor Strange. Here we have Scarlet Witch from WandaVision, and Vision from WandaVision. And then here we have Thor, Disco Thor, Mighty Thor, and Gore. For the King of Atlantis from the Distinguished Competition, and here we have the DC Universe Classics Aquaman. And then for a live-action comparison, here's the Sub-Mariner with the Dom Mariner. For a roto-scale comparison, here's Namor with Pizza Spidey and the Spectacular Spider-Man. And as always, here they are with Stealth Iron Man. Well, at least part of him. With all due respect to the movie version, this is his first appearance, and so accessory and display options are pretty limited. The classic version simply has more display options and collections you can put him with. For playability, this round goes to comic. This leaves us with nothing left to discuss but the price. New in box, the comic version averages for between $40 to $50, but I was lucky enough to find mine for only $31. That said, not only is the movie version readily available at retail for $25, I was able to get this one on Amazon for over $6 off. For price, this round goes to movie, but the battle goes to comic 3-2. Even so, I loved the movie, I loved him in the role, and I can't wait to see more of him in the MCU. For more Black Panther, check out this video on the comic book version, or for more Under the Sea adventures, check out this video on Ocean Master. Did you see Wakanda Forever, and if so, what did you think? Sound off in the comments below, but please no spoilers. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back again real soon, but until then, play nice and have fun.